I'm going to, the first step, you can kind of tell, I think you can probably see the big idea of what's happening here. You're being given words, and then you're given a set of choices. So, for example, step one, we're going to turn this into an equation in a second. And then well, actually, I'm going to stop there for a second, just at step one, okay? So step one, before we can figure out which one of these is the solution, we've got to know what's the equation in the first place, right? So I'm going to shut up for a minute. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Talk to the person next to you, brainstorm. If you don't want to actually write it down on your class kick yet, the kind of nice thing about class kick is that it erases easily, so who cares, Take a good, educated guess. If you're truly obsessed with doing paper, like this really isn't your thing, I do have paper copies of it over there if you want to go get one. But I want everybody to brainstorm an idea first and foremost, and I'm going to give you the answer in a minute. If you were going to turn this sentence into math, into an equation, first of all, we know it's going to be an equation because it's got that word, well, aside from the fact that I already told you you're going to solve, but it also has that word is in there, right? We know that means equals, which means it's going to be an equation. Brainstorm, talk to the person next to you, write down on a dry erase board or on your class kick, what do you think is going to be those words written as an equation? And in like 2 minutes, I'm going to give you that answer. Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes. I'm a really visual person, and I really like colors. You'll see that too. Because of my ADHD, I used to zone out a lot when I was in high school. And sometimes during notes in particular, all of a sudden I'd look at the board and I'm like, I have no freaking clue what's happening right now. So I color code things a lot so that, like, if that does happen to you, you can kind of see, like, where I got the information from. So I like to annotate. I like to write over the top of the words because that visual and that color really helps me. If it doesn't help you, you don't need to go through all that trouble, but it really helps me. So looking up at our list of words, what operation, where's the word product? What's it under? What does product mean? Multiplication, okay? So I know I'm going to multiply something, so I'm going to put a dot right there because I know I'm going to multiply something. Now, what am I going to multiply? It looks like I'm going to multiply 4, which is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to annotate a 4, and a number. What variable do we want to use? We want to stay boring and just keep using x? Oh, n. Yeah, let's use n. That's a good idea because that makes sense because it starts with the same letter. So I like to go through and just pull apart like what I know in the problem. Well, you need to make sure that, you need to see what I need you to put on here because, like, I don't see an equation on yours, for example. So just to get directions first, and then tomorrow when we're working all day on our own, I don't care. But right now, let's make sure you got the directions down. And I appreciate you asking me. So the product of 4 and n. Now, we could actually write that a bunch of different ways. You do not need to write down all the ways I'm getting ready to show you. I'm just showing you what you got. So it could be 4 with a dot and an n. It could be just 4n, because when you have something sitting next to something else, that means multiply. You could put them in parentheses. You could do all those different things and it would be correct. I'm going to stick with this one because it's the most simple one. All right, is a code word for equals. We already established that. So I know there's going to be equals in there. And then I feel like negative 12 is pretty self-explanatory, right? So I'm just going to write negative 12. So to earn full credit on this assignment, which we're definitely not going to get through all today, okay? To get full credit, I need to see an equation written down, okay? So I need to see one written. I'm not asking you to write me a paragraph or a novel, okay? I'm asking for one equation. The only version I'd rather you stick away from is don't do that because that could really easily be confused with a variable. So I'm going to ask you not to do that. You could do a dot by using the little pen tool, like whatever. Okay, now, part 2 is to solve that equation. Bless you. Based on our map scores, I know a lot of us know how to solve an equation. Okay? However, no pun completely intended, ha ha ha, we're all over the map. So some of us might have forgotten how to solve an equation. So, part 2, I need to see some kind of evidence to support how you got that answer. If you guys know how to do that, divide both sides by 4, great, just show me that you did that. I'm going to pretend for a minute, I'm going to live in a world where we don't remember how to solve equations right now. We're going to do that on Monday. And I'm going to show my evidence by looking at my possible answers. So because of the way this worksheet works, I know it's got to be one of these 3. So personally, I'm just going to take each of those 3 answers and see which one works. So this one just happens, it's at the top right. So I'm going to try that one first. What's 4 times negative 3? Negative 12. Okay, so I just proved that's the right answer. I'm not asking you to show, that took me all of like 8 seconds, right, to prove that negative 3 belongs there. I'm not asking you to write me a paragraph, explain your thinking. I just need to see some kind of evidence that you knew that was the right answer. If it's by solving it, by showing your steps, if you know what I'm talking about, like dividing both sides by 4, great, good for you, do it that way. But again, I'm pretending we don't know how to solve yet. So I'm doing it this way, where I'm proving, yes, 4 times negative 3 is definitely negative 12. And so I want you to talk to the person by you. Take your good educated guess. What do you think this is going to be written as an equation? I'm going to give you the answer in a minute, but I want you to try it yourself first. So you just follow the arrow to the next problem. Enough. So here we go. So again, I'm going to annotate. Okay, first of all, decreased by. On my vocab list, what operation is decreased? Adding, subtracting, multiplying. What is it? I thought I heard somebody say it. Where's the list is? I gave it to you guys for a reason. Where's decreased by? Under subtraction. Yeah, can you hang out for this answer real quick, please? Okay, so decreased by means subtraction. Oops, that is not, okay, there we go. Okay, decreased by is not one of those turnaround phrases I just gave you, right? So we're just going to go in the order of what the problem says. So 3 decreased by. So that means 3 is pretty self-explanatory. We know that's going to be a 3. I'm going to decrease it by something. We've already established from previous problems that product means multiplication, right? So the product of 6 and a number. I'm going to keep using n. So that's really going to be 6n. So 3 decreased by 6n equal to, I think is pretty self-explanatory. Negative 15, I feel like is pretty self-explanatory. So 3, the only ones that we really kind of had to put together. So 3 decreased by the product of 6 and a number equal to negative 15. If you know how to solve this by doing inverse operations, that's awesome. Show me that and then figure out the correct solution. I, however, am still going to operate in a world where I'm going to pretend we don't know how to do that yet. That's why I gave you multiple choice, because I know some of us haven't done this for a while. It's either going to be this one or that one, because those are the only 2 arrows that fall like off of that box. So I'm just going to do some trial and error. I'm going to start with this one again, because I pretty much always start with the top. So let's see if it works. Instead of 6 times n, I'm going to do 6 times 3. So I'm going to replace that n with a 3. What is 6 times 3? 18, thank you. So what's 3 minus 18? It is negative 15. So because that math works, I know I did it right. So 2 things to earn full credit when you spend the day working on this yourself tomorrow. I need to see the equation that you wrote. Okay, so I need to know that you know how to take those words and turn it into an equation. So that step right there. And I need some kind of evidence to support where you got that answer from. Not asking for a ton, those 2 little steps right there. Yes, sir. All right. Multiplied by. We better know what multiplied by means. We're multiplying, right? So 3 multiplied by a number. So I'm going to write it the simple way. 3 times n is how I'm going to do it. So 3n increased by. Is that adding, subtracting, multiplying, adding? So increased by 4. What's totals another word for? Do we have, where's, oh, I should have added that one. That should be on equals. Like the total is, that's another way of saying equals. So equals 1. So if you wrote that one correctly, you should have 3n plus 4 is equal to 1. And just because I see I'm running out of time here, so it's either going to be that one or that one. If I do the math, I'm going to do this one first just because I happen to know it's the right answer and I see what time it is. So what's 3 times negative 1? Negative 3, right? Negative 3 plus 4 is equal to 1. So I know I did it correctly. So ding-a-ding-ding, we're good. All right, so that's where we're going to have to stop. This is classwork, as we already talked about, so you do not need to finish this today. We're going to do this tomorrow.